You probably know our next speaker. Well, you think you know him. He's all over the place when it comes to the Pacific Northwest. He's on all those History Channel shows that aren't about history anymore. You've seen the footage, that grainy footage of him stomping all around the woods with his fur and his big feet. But frankly, there's another side to Sasquatch. People think he's just this big brute in the forest waiting for hapless hipsters to come by with their artisanal coffee and give him a frighten. But in fact, I was talking to him right before he came on stage, and he told me the real reason he's always skulking around the woods. He's just trying to get a good signal out there. So please welcome to the stage, Jason Grimes.
Good morning, automators, engineers, builders, and janitors. My name is Jason Grimes. I'm a Site Reliability Engineering Manager at Concur. Super excited to be here. Concur is based in Bellevue, Washington, just outside of Seattle. It's my first DevOps Days Portland. Super excited to be here. It wasn't just like a year ago I was at DevOps Days Seattle sitting out there thinking, wonder what it's like to be up here. It's nervous. So, so why am I here? What am I going to talk about? Concur's is a very successful SaaS company, and we're primarily relying on a monolith for most of our technology. We're moving to a fully microservices architecture. But as you guys know, it's a journey. So this is going to be a DevOps journey, and it's going to be similar to some of your own and then maybe some differences. But hopefully we can have a dialogue. But as for what's the talk about, what if we were able to create a superhero? Knowing what each of us know today, knowing our experiences, our technical expertise, what's possible. So, all right. So who am I? Why even pay attention? That's my Twitter bio. Everybody's got one. I'm a Llama team member. So folks at Concur know what Llama is: logging, alerting, monitoring, and analytics. I have a couple of folks from the Llama team somewhere here. But yeah, and pictured there are some colleagues of mine, Oliver and Braden, and that was right before a new Relic training. So I'm an evangelist. We have roughly 700 developers at Concur, all running their own stacks, and we're trying to make sure that they have the right tools, services, and support to get what they need. And oh yeah, we do vendor management and stuff. So, man, times are a-changing. Like, I'm old. I think to myself, I've seen quite a bit. I started on this C64. I was playing Frogger on my tape drive. I think writing some BASIC or something, and I was pretty stoked about my first Hello World before it was Hello World. I have a decade of on-prem data center experience. I think with that and a couple bucks, I could probably get a coffee. Not super relevant. We transitioned to DevOps in 2015, but I'm fascinated with communications. My man, Ed, who happens to be sitting here, I didn't know that, but have you seen the way somebody tweeted to him and he responded with this tweet, and I just look at, like, we weren't communicating like that 10 years ago. Things are different. So what am I hoping to talk about? Yeah, I'm going to talk about some communications. I believe in this SRE DevOps community that there are multiple winners. It used to be that there was one, everybody competed, and it was mean. Flip it upside down. There is so much opportunity. We're the automators. So what I'm hoping to do is open source everything. In my 20s and 30s, I was all about, what can I do to get ahead? What can I do to show me? And it didn't get me very far. But as I stepped into Concur, into more of a manager role and a coach to many millennial talent, I had to change. And so I started open sourcing what I'm doing. For good or bad, I take field input from the field and continue to iterate. So let's just talk about some of those. Okay, so what do I want you to walk away with? Sure, I'm going to tell you a story, going to give you some team principles and ideas. Bless you. How to build a superhero, recruiting in this new paradigm, and then two of my favorite subjects, leveling up and the automators. So who is Concur? It's not super exciting. It's expenses, money, invoice-driven management, bringing visibility into that. We have 7,000 employees. I mentioned we have roughly 700 developers. That's globally. We have data centers in Seattle and Paris. We actually have quite a few more, but it was just like, it was not really worth listing all those. And then we have centralized management. The two technologies, there's several technologies, but two of the primary technologies for the Llama team at Concur is the Elastic Stack for logging and New Relic for the APM performance and real user monitoring. And then we're, of course, pushing this concept of end-to-end. You might recognize some of the brands as Expenseit, TripIt, and Hipmunk, which was acquisition last year. So by the numbers, what do we see every day? Like, what's the scale like? You know, when you're at a 100-person company, that scale is very different than a 7,000 person. So what we see in a day is 2.4 million expenses uploaded. That's receipts scanned, uploaded. We see 275,000 trips scheduled through TripIt, which is a big consumer product, travel product that, you know, somewhere around 13 million folks use. 700,000 mobile logins, but the number that I dig, right, is that invoices processed, the dollars, that's why we're in business. But the thing to take away, what we're doing at Concur, is we have the tech and the tools to focus on under 300 millisecond latency. And so I'm sure there's faster stuff, but the fact that we're measuring it, iterating, and moving on, I think it's pretty cool. So what's the vision? Well, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. We want engineers, you folks, solving those problems. We want machines solving the known problems, or automation solving the known problems. So I searched forever to find something like that. So if you were to build a Lego that solves the Rubik's Cube, that's automation, right? Because what we learned is DevOps is cool. And I'm not hating on anything DevOps, because it's really good. But what we found is embedding is just not enough. Like, that's all. I mean, we just have to do a little bit more. So what's the future look like? And it's a gamble. I don't pretend to know everything, but it's more of a no-ops future. Full automation, centralized IT teams running, building code and delivering value. So what's my mission? You know, as we're building a team, what's important to me? I want to build a world-class SRE program. There's plenty out there examples. The great thing about our culture, right, is it's community and event-driven, so we can see how our peers are doing things and solving problems. I want to enable a no-ops philosophy at a high level and make sure that we're giving them end-to-end ownership of the full stack. So, but how did we get there? So I think about the late 90s. I was, you know, here for Y2K and all that stuff. Waterfall was the big thing, right? We were delivering value to our customers 9 months, 18 months out of the year. We had to bet big and bet right? Because if you got it wrong and you had to pivot, that just didn't happen back then. You went under. We moved, and so I remember my manager at the time, David Getty, who's now at HoloLens at Microsoft, and he would just say, Jason, reliable, repeatable, results over time. And I was like, got it, chief. Moved into an environment in the 2000s, more of a mixed environment, releasing every 4 months, some agile process, but you know, you're moving from a waterfall. And it was really like 2006 or 2007 when Amazon CTO Werner Vogel said, you build it, you run it. And I know some folks, that resonates with many folks in this room. It resonated with me. And that's essentially what we've been operating on for quite some time. And then Kevin Evans, he's our VP, forgive me, I don't know his title, but he's our VP who introduced this concept of end-to-end. End-to-end is not new, it's from the 60s, but the idea is that we're helping teams be accountable for the end-to-end transaction, from where the consumer is hitting send, that whole transaction out and back in, those dev teams are responsible. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought, I don't need to learn anymore, I got this. And then I was sitting out there where you folks are at DevOpsDays Seattle, and I'm taking notes and trying to be smart and witty on Twitter. And Nell gets up to speak. She's from Chef, and she says, she doesn't actually say that. She says, let go of being right and meet people where they are. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you mean I'm not right? Like, wow, I had to step back and think about that. I was just like, well, let me shorten that so I can put it on a slide. But essentially, I want to meet people where they are. Folks that like Slack, I'm going to meet them in Slack. Folks that like email, I'm going to do it in email. Folks that like Twitter, I'm going to be on Twitter. Folks that need GIFs as teaching moments, I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way to meet the folks where they are and help them on this digital transformation go into a fully microservices architecture. And I just said me, but it's actually not. It's this, I don't know where they're sitting, but there's a team of us, the Llama folks. So, and we want to go to continuous deployment, fully microservices, and no ops. What am I doing? All right, so team principles. It's crazy because I saw this, nothing at Concur is somebody else's problem. I saw that same sign at Facebook yesterday with nothing at Facebook is somebody else's problem. So great marketing. Team principles. I mentioned I've kicked that one enough. How about acts as a fluid team? I have a sister team in Prague, and although we have teams, globally, we want to act as one fluid team. They wake up, well, they're up much earlier than we are. So when I get up at about 6 a.m., they're rolling off their day. I'm on Slack, checking out how they're doing. We want to be this fluid team. My manager, Yovka and Angus, would want me to say engineering excellence, and so that's definitely something that we focus on. And dog fooding, which, as we consume our different beta services and try new products out, we want to be consuming it on the Llama stack before anybody else. I've said enough about end-to-end, but batteries included. So I'm not sure who came up with the quote-unquote phrase, but this idea of including what you need necessary to run your organization from day one, that's where we're headed, folks. So principles. We don't get all of these. But these are aspirations. As many of you know, and you've seen this on 100 different decks, I couldn't even find the original person who said it, but the only source of truth is the code. That's what's handed down from one engineer to another engineer. It doesn't matter about layoffs. It doesn't matter about someone had a baby. We're handing that down. So as much as we can codify things, that's where we want to go. One of the things that we're doing at Concur, we're doing a number of things, is alerting, trying to codify alerts. We use a new Relic technology. They use an insights database, and we're allowed to write these, what's called a NURCL-based query to check, and we can actually check that code into our commits, and the alerts are then codified. There's no administrivia. There's no send a ticket to help desk to do this task. We remove that piece. Obviously, I don't think people would disagree. I'm going to ever commit in GitHub. I think that makes sense. Automated delivery architecture. Oh, and then the SRE is a global team sport. You guys know this. You're from all over the place, and we communicate and share. And without this rich community, without this global support, it just wouldn't work. So what does make global teamwork work? So ChatOps. Scott actually introduced me to that concept at DevOpsDays from Columbia, at DevOpsDays. And it's the concept of bringing operations inside a chat room for your organization to see. We use shared dashboards. We have two relevant technologies. We have a logging dashboard, a Kibana dashboard for quick analyzation, and then we also have shared New Relic dashboards, which we use for primarily performance data, end-to-end monitoring. We have pretty well-defined roles within Concur, but that's been an ongoing process. And we do a bunch of site visits and road shows. So it's not enough to just be communicating, whether it's through meeting software or whatnot. We found that actually going on site makes a huge difference. It's probably obvious. Having a chance to go out to Prague myself last year, the culture is completely different. Like, I'm used to sitting in my little box looking out on my desk, and the culture in Europe is very collaborative. They're a lot more partner-oriented. They're out from behind their desks sharing stories, and there's a lot of community goodness that I learned from seeing how other parts of the world work. So fantastic. We do community newsletters. The idea is that folks need to see things 7 times before it's going to register and take action. So I'm going to try to reach these people where they are. And whenever we do a training, record it. It doesn't matter. Somebody will gain something out of it. It takes very little to do. And then, oh yeah, we're a dev team. We need to be producing results every 2 weeks, adding value to the org, or we're just not cutting it. So you guys are, you folks are the same way. Mountains of data, tools, and technology. These are just some of the ones that our group deals with. I'm sure if I wanted to get crazy, there'd be like 100 more logos we could probably throw up there. So what's a cloud services tool look like? Well, we have to have tools for cloud, fully cloud, which that makes sense. But we also have hybrid and on-prem. Making sure that we have the tools and the software to support environments is key. It basically comes down to 2 vendors that we use, New Relic for real user monitoring and performance monitoring, and then Elastic for the logging stack. Now, we use the mobile and browser product go together. We're able to see things like crashes, have full breadcrumbs on what led to the crash. We're also able to see filterable geography to know how performance is in particular countries where our customers are. So we understand that end-to-end performance. And then we use performance monitoring. Infrastructure is the weapon of choice. It's being deployed right now. Infrastructure does the similar things as the New Relic server. It does the traditional server metrics that you'd expect, but it also does this rich inventory. So if there's ever a major hack or a day one exploit, you can search via Google bar just to say package X, and you can find out which hosts are running it. So it's a very intelligent system. And then synthetics is one of the technologies we use for outside-in monitoring, because as you folks know, like being in multiple availability zones doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful. So outside-in monitoring is key. ChatOps, I just wanted to show you what our picture of ChatOps would look like. Obviously, GitHub's a huge part of it, Jira. PagerDuty we use for the notification and whatnot. We have our APM synthetics tools and then our logging tools as well. Oh, and I was talking to Bridget. That's right. I was talking to Bridget last night. Bridget, I'm going to say her name wrong. Cromhout. And she was talking about her Slack strategy, because it's hard when you get all these messages in Slack. And she was just saying, mute channels aggressively. Sometimes leave a permanent message saying send email if it's critical. But think about your Slack strategy, because at a corp like Concur, I might have 80 channels, plus email, Twitter, what all that stuff is. It's crazy. So manage your notifications or they will manage you. You folks probably know that, but like it's very helpful. So batteries included. This is some juice. The idea that you get a toy, it already comes with batteries, you put the batteries in there and it works. Well, that's what we want to do from an operational maturity point of view. We want to have a starter kit for ops. So when somebody spins up a new application, we want to combine the technical goodness, the hey, run these machine counters, run disk space stuff, but hey, also get this rich integration with ChatOps, have integration with PagerDuty. And we want to measure not just the disk, CPU, and memory, but actual apdex. Apdex is more of a number of satisfaction requests. Oh, I'm saying that wrong. But how satisfied the response time is for a particular application. And we alert on that, and it's fantastic. And it lets our developers focus less on how does it all work, because it's just a cloud, and enables them to be successful right from the get-go. So how do you build a superhero? We finally got to this slide. It's a perfect blend of experience, right? Like, I mean, if you get to choose anything, it's this perfect blend of experience and technical and communication strategies. But more importantly, it's this capacity to continue learning, right? When I joined Concur, my manager, Danelle, she said, you know, entire tool sets will change year over year. People don't want to be locked into cloud services contract. Executives change. We need to be ready to continue learning. We need to lead without prompting. We don't need folks that are just going to hang out and wait to be told what to do. I need a bias towards action. I'm sure many folks like that are here. I want folks with an always-on attitude, at least when you're at work. I understand, you know, I had to go to a speaker dinner the other day, and I had like massive anxiety introvert system. But like, you have to be on at work, and I want to use some sort of blended technical communication strategy to kind of drive what we're doing. But if I was going to give you one piece of advice, for whatever it's worth, it would be available. Just show up. You guys are already successful at that. You are available. You showed up. And it just starts from there. So what's a background look like when we're hiring somebody? We're generally hiring folks out of college and more towards the junior end. We focus on the science and the service. The science is pretty easy. Hey, get a degree in this or that. Learn object-oriented programming. It'd be great if you had a passion for excellent computing. It would also be nice if you understood the 7 layers of the OSI model, but I'll settle for troubleshooting TCP. And then basic SQL querying. SQL's been borrowed and stolen and everything. If you understand Transact SQL, you can get away with a lot of the querying tools that we're going to use. And then I was just talking about this in the speaker room, I think it was with Alistair, is just be active. The days of when we worked for a confidential company and we checked code in and we weren't going to tell our secrets, man, that's like over. Like, we need to share, and it's about this community. So I encourage you to be active on the networks you feel most comfortable. But I do think GitHub, LinkedIn, and Twitter are critical. So hiring in this new paradigm, it's a little different. You guys know you folks know it's challenging. We want to simplify the job description. And I was like, what? When I first wanted to hire somebody, I listed every word and acronym on there that I could because I want the coolest, the richest, the best candidate out there. And what I realized was I was doing myself a disservice. One of the folks that I hired in that first slide, Oliver, my teammate, is a diversity candidate. Really working with our hiring group to really understand, in order for diversity candidates to feel welcome, they need to meet all those requirements, or they won't apply. They'll just pass you over. Sounds weird, but once you get used to that and you know that that's how it is, you change behavior. What we find is many of us are teachers. We can coach and teach these things. I'm quite confident if you get somebody with the right science and a high level of service, you'll get some great output. As far as the three background profiles we fish from, I think this is pretty obvious. Engineers, operations, and SStat QA. Usually from one of those backgrounds, you have enough of a base of an SDLC life cycle that we can really onboard you pretty well. Wow, we got to it. Leveling up strategy. Wow, here we go. So you need to welcome the sharing and exchanging of ideas. The days of you going into your office, if you have an office, shutting the door and going, I got this. You're not going to come up with the solution that meets the market's needs, right? So we need to bring in learning from the field. One of the ways we do that in Seattle is we have a group called Coffee Ops. We meet every other Friday. And it started out as 8 automators in the back of a Starbucks. And they were mostly men, one female. And we just started meeting every other week, and the topics would get richer. And then we would talk about it. And now that list is 950 automators and 30 to 40 people, 20, 30, I don't know, Don, how many people come to that thing? Like, there's a lot every other Friday. If it's Friday at 8 in the morning and there's 30 people there and no food, like, that's serious, man. We're there to work. So local meetups matter. I didn't mean to skip over Wiki for the future. Wiki is such a big deal. From these coffee ops meetings, what I've really learned is the companies that are really killing it in DevOps, in my opinion, let's say Facebook and Google and Twitter and Amazon, those folks wiki like nobody's business because you're wikiing for the future. You're saying to somebody else, here's exactly the information you need to be successful for the outcome that you're trying to solve. And I can't remember who said it, but it's like writing a note to your future self. It's like you just get paged in the middle of the night. What are the breadcrumbs that are going to get you to resolve that problem? So wikiing is important. Oh, and conferences. And I don't mean like, hey, conference, come to a talk. I mean, seriously, look to your left, to your right. Do you know those folks? Look at the folks behind you. Meet them. It's about this community. It's not just a profile picture. I'm going to lose some of you here. How many people use Twitter? I need to see. I need to know who I'm up against. OK. Thank you. Thank you. I'm actually surprised. So Twitter's a tool. I like to think of Twitter as a data source. OK? It's just another data source. There's folks that are on that data source every 5 minutes with emojis and telling you how we're doing. And then there's some nuggets. I pulled out just two. One's from Jesse Robbins. Jesse, one of the founders of Chef. I think he's at Orion or something right now. He's the former master of disaster at Amazon. And he says the moment chooses you. I mean, like, as a DevOps SRE person, that's cool. He's a former firefighter. Had a chance to hear Jeff Smith speak at DevOpsDays Seattle a while ago. And that dude is funny and on point every time, and it's very relatable. And I dug that. So what I'm saying is that I'm not saying, hey, let's get on Twitter and start tweeting. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a data source. So who inspired this? Well, I actually didn't know Alice was going to MC, so that's a little weird. But so that number is also way wrong. So the automators, what is this? So I put 4 people, it's like when I'm working on something, I put like, who are the best in whatever particular categories as they relate to me. And so I picked these 4 individuals. Alice, if you haven't heard her, I think it's like janitors, rock stars, and builders, you're doing it wrong speech from Future Stacker Velocity a couple years ago. I mean, that changed me. I knew when I saw that what I wanted to do. Kelsey Hightower, Kubernetes freak. And the thing about it that I like about Kelsey isn't Kubernetes or any of that. It's that he's making tech accessible. He's teaching us that not everybody has to be an expert up here. You too could give a talk. Here's how easy it is. Here's how the model to do it. Super dig that. Jesse, not very active on Twitter, more from a thought leader and an early adopter kind of thing. And then dark and nerdy, our friend Jeff Smith. So what I did, and this is not the only list, but what I did as I was trying to level up my personal strategy is I started creating a list, and I called that list the Automators. It's that link. You can go there now. There's like 450 SRE, DevOps, engineer goodness. Hopefully it's a bunch of you in this room. We'll see. But the idea is, who are the folks that are out there in the community participating, sharing? And what we want to do is I created a list, and we followed all of them. And you're saying, I'm not on Twitter. I don't care. I want you to take Twitter. I want you to combine it with this third-party service called Nuzzle that's free. And what it does is it takes this list of automators, and then it sees what are the most popular shares among that list. And then I should go to the next slide. Sorry, guys. And then it goes to the next slide. I just said that. So the idea is that an email comes daily with the most relevant news of the day. This is not the most relevant news because I took this morning off. I had a coffee and stuff. But the idea is let motivation and social indicators guide you to what you should read. I'm not saying all the time, but I can glance at this and know which automator shared what and which was more reshared. And that's so valuable because I can't hang out on Twitter all day. I don't know. I can't. I like it. So, and this isn't going to work for everybody. I'm not saying take this information and tweet it. I'm saying consume it, file it here, decide what to do with it. Who cares if you tweet? Oh, wow. I don't even know how I'm doing on time. I got kind of excited. So,
5 minutes.
thank you. I don't know where I'm going to get 5 minutes, but I'll try.
You can also do questions.
Okay, cool. So, steal this deck. You guys can do better than this. I left a bit.ly up there. It should go to the Google Deck. You should be viewing it. And I have a list of automators. Again, this isn't like Jason sat. I did sit in a box and come up with who I thought we could follow, but like I'm totally open. So DM me and like, hey man, I need to be on that list. That's super cool. We can do that. Questions though. I kind of ended abruptly. Dawn.
You mentioned earlier that people should be always on, but being always on, doesn't that lead to burnout?
Yeah, so what we do at Concur is we have, doesn't always on lead to burnout? Oh yeah, absolutely. If you don't take care of yourself, it'll totally lead to burnout. We do on-call rotations, 12-hour shifts, 2 different people, so you're never, we have somebody who's fully alert at all times, and we share that. So what I'm saying is, for your shift, that's the time you would be always on. I don't doubt that people need to go home and decompress and chill out. I am going to do that right after this. So that was a great question. Did I answer it? Come on. Oh dear God. John! I'm sorry, I didn't know you were there.
As you're recruiting and developing these SRE superheroes, what kind of metrics do you have to see how well you're doing, how they develop? What makes a good superhero?
Man.
How do you measure that internally?
Man, you're asking me to measure stuff? That's insane. So that's a great question, and truthfully, I don't have it. But what I would think about is that sorry. How do you measure these SRE superheroes that you're building? Are you making a difference? Can you make a difference? And the answer is yes. We support both the logging stack, which is Elastic, and the new Relic stack via Slack, and among many other ways. So we'll often get chatter in there. I want our engineers, once they're coached up, to be comfortable enough to engage those folks, talk about those issues, and resolve them. So as folks start, John, they don't have the skills, but they spend a lot of time watching the interaction in the channels. We do a lot of the recorded training, bringing in folks from the field. I'll bring folks in from New Relic. We were just at Elastic a month ago. So I don't have those hard metrics. That's a good question, but I'm worried that if I said number of Git check-ins, it probably wouldn't achieve the right result. So it's definitely something I should think about. So, one more question. Yes?
Why the focus on hiring right out of college instead of?
You know, that's a great question. That's more of a Concur specific thing. Many of they come to us with some basic set of skills. We've invested in them as interns, and it's more of a long-term play. Concur has gone through. I'm in Portland. That's right. Concur has gone through a number of changes, growing and whatnot, and yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. I got all the way to the end and I forgot. So I didn't answer that question. Oh, yes. So they're like super. I mean, that's just what they do, and they train people. They try to keep people for the long term. To focus on what Dawn said, I have to work on not burning them out, not running too fast, talking too fast, drinking too much coffee. Yeah, we do focus on that. There are senior folks that we'll bring in, but we found that our retention among the senior folks at Concur is pretty solid, and what we needed was some younger talent. Great question.
Awesome. So another round of applause for Sasquatch.